Hello and welcome to the World News Jam right here on DCRJ and RJ TV. My name is Eric LeCain and I'm joined with Lalie Tolentino here on Sky Cable Channel 224 and the radio 810 AM. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at RJAM News. Now we talk about stories going on around the world, some of the most interesting stuff that our viewers, questions that they have sent in to us that we will answer. You can send in a question about anything and we will talk about it, discuss it, and answer it here on the show. So Lalie Tolentino, Lalie Tolentino, if I wore knickerbockers, my knickerbockers would be wet. You know what knickerbockers are?
Tell me.
Yeah, knickerbockers are those pants that you used to wear back in the 20s that come to your knees. So you have socks and then shoes and then your pants start. They used to call them, when I was growing up, when your mother would buy you pants that were too short or you were going through a growth spurt, they called them floods because the bottom of the pants were too good. So today would be a perfect day to wear your floods.
Yeah.
A lot of information.
Normally, if it is like, a rainy season, the best advice is not to wear pants. You have to wear shorts.
Oh, I thought you was going to say don't wear pants, like I do a lot of times in those Zoom meetings. You mean wear shorts? Okay, I got you. All right, I'm with you on that. Because it's one thing to be rainy season, but boy, this has been the rain of the season. Because where I am, it has rained a lot. And besides rain and floods and wind and earthquakes, we had an earthquake this week, which got me out of bed at like 4:30 in the morning as it swayed my condo building back and forth. So that was very exciting.
Yeah, it was an exciting morning actually, and then everybody was like up and sending me messages, it was kind of exciting and scary actually.
Yes, I don't know, somebody's mad at us about something because they threw everything at us this week. So, when you're finally dealing with where all the rainwater is going to go, and then all of a sudden the earth starts moving, and then right after that, the rain came back again, and the lightning came back, and the thunder came back, and so we've just been, and it seems like every day we think, oh, okay, here comes the sun, and then the very next day, no sun.
Yeah. Well, it's a rainy season. We have typhoons, so we had floods. So what else do you want? I mean, we have the variant, the Delta variant.
Yes,
we got everything right here.
We have everything, and the only thing that's good about that is I can see it all now. Because of my glasses that I have from IQ Optical down in Cash and Carry, who is currently having a 50 to 70% off sale, which I think is going to end soon. So get down there as soon as you can, because if you mention that I want to look like Lalie Tolentino, they will give you 5% off on your glasses or contacts. So think about that now. Lalie Tolentino, I think you're about to read some questions from our viewers. What kind of glasses are you sporting today?
Well, I will be wearing the same pink glasses because it's my favorite of the month glasses. My reading glasses, the pink one from IQ. Do I look cute with mine?
Man, you look dashing. I don't think the right word is dashing, but yes, you look fabulous there with your pink IQ optical glasses from Cash and Carry. So thank goodness you have those, because we have to get through all these questions, plus the flood, plus the earthquake, plus monsoons and a Delta variant and all these other problems. And people coming back to life from the vaccine, don't forget that. So Lalie Tolentino, without further ado, what is our first question this week from our viewing audience?
Okay, let us start with Martin from Pasig. What do you think of the video shown that went viral with Senator Ron Johnson interviewing the people who got vaccinated and had bad side effects?
All right, well, before we start, there's no question that I have never been a fan of Ron Johnson. I think he's a bad senator for a number of reasons, so with keeping that in mind, this video, which I have seen, has been criticized by many or all of the medical community as misleading and false. And here's why. It's a video where Ron Johnson is trying to prove, by the way, he's a senator from the United States, he's trying to prove that the vaccine is dangerous and it has these horrible side effects. Now, just let me say that if this were true, there would be thousands of these videos out there, literally thousands of videos, but there is not, is there? Also, he's a senator from Wisconsin where thousands and thousands of people are dead now because of COVID, yet no one in the video is from his own state. They are all from other places that he has found. So a lot of people asked him and aides and so forth, said, don't put this video out because it's misleading to people and it's not going to look good when the medical pros rip it to shreds, which is what many have done. So it makes it seem like the vaccine causes paralysis and neurological reactions. Now, this is very obvious that this is all politically motivated because Ron Johnson's one of those guys that was saying the virus was fake and blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. That was the Trump era. But this is not the Trump era anymore. And now something like this might actually be dangerous for people, especially when they see something like this by posting this on YouTube, which, by the way, Ron Johnson's YouTube account last month was suspended for sending out false information about the virus. This is on a different account. So anyway, make a long story short, the Milwaukee Health Department from his own state said that the vaccine is safe and effective, and the complications from it are extremely rare. But let me just say this, from my own point of view, what if there were side effects? Let's just say that all these things that he's putting out are true and there are side effects. If you had a choice between a side effect and being dead, which would you pick? I mean, I would take the risk, I think, of having a side effect if the other choice was possibly dying. And right now, in the United States anyway, 99.96% of the people that are dying from COVID are unvaccinated. So, now I just want to say one more point before you chime in. You know, and people have asked me this: is there anything to these videos? Is there anything to these side effects that he's claiming? Because when you watch the video, it sounds very real, and these people sound very real. First of all, let me just talk about these things that he brings up about the vaccine adverse event reporting system. The way he's saying it, it's very misleading because he's saying, well, these reports, you know, people are, sick and having side effects. Anybody can make a report. Anybody can put in a report and then they make an investigation. However, if you just sit there and you just cite the reports that are not been proven yet or not been looked into yet you're just citing reports. Anybody can make a report. Yes, people are coming out and saying that the vaccine made me very sick. But that's not to say yet, until it's been investigated in, that you were not sick anyway, before or after you got the vaccine. So they did follow-ups on a lot of these things, and so far as I can find, it says there's no correlation or causation between a lot of these side effects and getting the vaccine. And they asked the senator, they said, why are you giving out this information? And he said, not in that video, but to a reporter, I'm not suggesting that any death was caused by the vaccine, but the report should be looked into. But, okay, so there have been 5,479 reports that there's a side effect out of 318 million doses of vaccine. And so far, they haven't been able to really make a link between those side effects and the vaccine and death. So they, okay, and I'm sure somebody out there right now is going to go, what about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine with the blood clots? And yes, 3 people died of blood clots out of 8 million people who got the vaccine. And doctors have said, and we talked about this on the show twice already, that doctors have looked into this and they say that the vaccine, could have caused the blood clot, could have caused those blood clots in those people. However, the virus itself is hundreds of times more likely to cause a blood clot than the vaccine. So they cannot say definitively that the vaccine caused those blood clots. It just, coincidentally, they just happen to be the same, and it could be, but like I said, I would think the risk, the reward that you can get from taking this vaccine outweighs the possibility that you might be the 0.1% that might get a side effect.
Yeah, because that video that I saw also, I mean, it went viral here in the Philippines. So
yeah,
I had a group. I saw it from the group also. They've been, sending it out and get it. That's why the people are getting very negative, and that's why they refuse to have, they refuse to take vaccine because of this kind of video.
Yep.
And you're right, to me, and I 101% agree. This is really political, which is not supposed to be. We are talking about health. And I will go further on this issue later on because, I interviewed some people yesterday about the vaccine. The people, unfortunately, I could say those people are trumpets. And I am sad that these people are still not taking the vaccine because of what they've been hearing about this type of, thing.
I know.
Dying, and I said, oh my God. How can we be safe, all of us, if some of our friends will refuse to take the vaccine? I will not argue. I will not even, convince you to take the vaccine. But I know it's your right. It's your privilege. You want to be vaccinated. So
that's the thing. Is, let me just say, if that was our right, if we had Facebook back in the early 1900s, and it was our right to take our vaccine or not, we would probably still have smallpox now, and we would probably still have polio now. But thank God we didn't have Facebook back then, and we weren't able to be anti-vaxxers sending out all this information to all these people. So, that's my point. And, this dude on Fox last week says, well, we have the right to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. If you want to go cliff diving, that's your right. This is not cliff diving. If you jump off a cliff and you die, that is your right. That is your fault for doing that. But now, if you jump off if you jump off the cliff and you die, you're not going to hurt somebody else. You're not going to give somebody else, the jumping off the cliff to die. This is something where we need to do it because we need to help our fellow man, because we may be giving it to him. And so this is why everybody needs to get vaccinated. And, I don't know, I beat my head against a tree to understand why these people, believe that it's going to help their political careers if they talk down the virus or talk down the vaccine. And I just, I want to stick my fingers in my eyes, but I don't stick my fingers in my eyes because I have my glasses from IQ to stop me. But no, what I'm saying is I just think that it's just crazy that they keep doing this. And we're trying to save everybody. Don't they see that? Anyway.
Yeah, well, thank God we are not like them, the way they think. Anyway, that's sometimes I find it so irritating, argument. But anyway, let's go to Wilma Pontuluca. Okay, what can you say about the Olympics in Japan with positive cases for COVID? I wonder why they push through while they can still delay it for another year. Your thought?
Well, 110 cases so far connected to the Olympics. It's even been found in the Olympic Village. In fact, today I read that an event was finished and found that the person participating in the event had the coronavirus. So right now, Tokyo, every day of the week has had over 1,000 cases. And there's, I know there's tens of thousands of people involved in the Olympics, and that 110 cases is not that many. But still, these are COVID cases that came out before the Olympics even started. And right now, they're in the middle of the Olympics, and cases are popping up all over the place. And that is why the Japanese people are like, why are we even doing this? 8% of the people are not happy about it. Toyota says it's not going to show any ads in Japan during the Olympics, kind of a protest against the Olympics. So they're saying that 85% of the athletes have been vaccinated. And there's no spectators allowed, and there's all these protocols in place now. But even with all that they're doing in Tokyo, they can't seem to stop people from getting it. And from right now, from what I understand from watching the news, it's getting worse in Tokyo. And the worst of all, the Delta variant, we keep talking about, is now the new dominant strain in Japan. And the athletes are saying, we've done everything that we were supposed to, and still, some athletes are going home early because they tested positive for the virus. And I can see that they're trying, because there was one story that came out of Japan about beds in the Olympic Village, the beds that are made very weak. They're made out of some kind of cardboard material, because they're supposedly made that way so that if you jump up and down on the bed, it will break. And the idea being they're trying to stop athletes from having sex, because they believe if they can stop them from having sex, they'll stop them from passing the COVID virus. But then one of the athletes tried to show a example of him jumping up and down on the bed and saying that you could put, 4 gymnasts on one bed, and that the only people that could break one of these beds is a weightlifter in the heavyweight division, or maybe a boxer. But at least it shows that the Japanese are trying to stop the virus. I mean, they're doing everything they can. It's just not, it's not happening right now. Right now, they are actually having a rise in cases.
Yeah, that's the thing. We even thought about this last year. If ever, are they going to push through with the Olympics, because it's supposed to be last year and they delayed it. Now they did it. But the problem is, the virus is around. I mean, we didn't stop, all over the world. So, of course, I know there's an economic issue about that, because I know they spent a lot of money preparing for this Olympics. But even though they pushed it through, I don't think they're gonna make money here. I don't.
Oh, I can tell you right now they're not going to make money. That it is predicted now that Japan will lose billions on this Olympics. So right now we're just waiting to see what the legacy is going to be, because that's what, when you do these things in your country, you're looking at the legacy that they can talk about. But what is the legacy going to be? Because right now there are no spectators in the stands. So when a gymnast does a big dismount, there's going to be nothing. I mean, that's part of what was great about the Olympics. When somebody scores a goal in soccer, nobody's going to yell yay. It's just going to be, okay, well, we scored a goal, let's start it up again. So it's going to be a tough Olympics to watch. The opening ceremony brought 16 million viewers, which was the lowest amount of viewers in Olympics in 33 years. So, I feel bad for Japan, what they're having to go through. And we just started, and they already found someone who has COVID who has participated in events. So this is what we're waiting to see happen again. Is there going to be another event? And they found that person also has COVID, and somebody else has COVID. So to see if they can get through this thing without so many COVID cases that they have to cancel an event.
Yeah, well, that is really sad, but what can we do?
I know, countries make billions and billions of dollars off the Olympics, especially for tourists walking around and all the stuff that they sell. And Japan has none of that. They make none of that money, plus all the money that they spent on it before, and then all the things that they built, which are now closed down. I just, your heart's got to go out for the Japanese, because this was just not their, year.
Yeah. Well, that's really bad. The last Olympic I went to, I think 2000 in Australia, and I know how the real Olympics looks like. How many people going from one event to another, and it was fun. But this time in Japan, I really feel bad for them. But okay, maybe next time. We don't know when. And
next time.
This is from Edwin of Manila. Greece, France joined Italy in making COVID-19 shots mandatory for health workers. and the unvaccinated won't get paid. Do you think other countries should follow?
Well, I mean, why not? I mean, I'm sure people are going to yell at me about this, but why shouldn't healthcare workers have to be vaccinated? I mean, healthcare workers are in the hospital with all the COVID patients. I mean, their chances of getting it compared to me are much higher. And she or he, who's a nurse, is probably young and strong, and he doesn't have symptoms when he has COVID, you know, as opposed to someone who's old and weak. So when he, you know, is doing his job, but he may give you the virus and you die. So I don't understand, you know, they should be forced to get the vaccine. I don't understand why not. It just seems like that's and right now there's cases coming up in France to stop them from forcing people to get, you know, the Prime Minister of Greece came out and said it's not Greece that's in danger, it's unvaccinated people in Greece that are in danger. And now in Germany, Angela Merkel said, okay, well, listen, we're not going to make vaccines compulsory. However, we're not going to open up our country either until enough people get vaccinated. So it's your choice. So, you know, of course, give it up to Angela Merkel. I mean, right now, there's a huge rise in cases in Europe due to this Delta variant.
Yeah.
And places like France is floating the idea of making vaccines mandatory to everyone.
Yeah, I think Macron stood up and said, "Hey, let's all do this because they know this, the status economy. So everybody want to go back to work, but what can we do? You know, there's always a surge.
I mean,
especially now with the new variant.
Yeah, I mean, all these European countries are bringing back these old restrictions from last year because of what's happening. But if people would just get vaccinated, they wouldn't have to do this. The UK right now is going to continue opening up, although they are actually having a rise in cases. And Boris Johnson said, you know, okay, yeah, we're going to open it up and it's going to lead to more deaths, but we got to open back up. And people are saying, hey, this is irresponsible. That they shouldn't do this. Now, in the UK, they say they have 87% of people in the UK have at least one shot. I don't know if that's true or not. But if it became, you know, look at this. What if it became mandatory to have the vaccine in the Philippines? What do you think would happen? What if Duterte said, okay, you got to get vaccinated, you got to get your shot, or we're going to shoot you? What do you think?
And you know what? Oh, I talk to people and they hate now. They loved Duterte before, but they hate now Duterte. You know what? Why? Because when Duterte says, okay, you know, you should be vaccinated, and you know, the usual curse that he said. Now they hate him because of that. Because for those people who are not vaccinated, you are, saying things. So there's not really a reaction from people.
I mean, in the United States, if Biden, the president, said that everyone has to get vaccinated, people's heads would explode. And I don't understand why. We get vaccinated when we're children so we can go to school. They won't let you go to school if you don't have a measles vaccine or a smallpox vaccine. I'm still, here again, I don't understand why people are so against this vaccine that saves your life and saves the life of your neighbor and makes the economy come back and everything be open again. Why are people so against this? It still boggles the mind. And they want to say, well, I talked to two friends of mine just the other day. Well, I don't want the side effects. There's too many side effects. And I'm trying to explain to them that if there were bad side effects, it would be all over the news. There would be so much, publicity about it, but there really hasn't been because there haven't been real side effects, like big, nasty side effects. It's just what, people, anti-vaxxers put out on Facebook, which Facebook is now, canceling accounts left and right because they're finding that a lot of these things are dangerous. People are dying because of stuff that news agencies are putting out. And this is why they're going after Fox right now, because Fox is talking about all these things. Well, you shouldn't get the vaccine, whatever. And people are dying because of it. So don't they have some kind of responsibility that they should put out factual news when it comes down to it? Now, politics, all right, you're going to lie, everybody lies about that. But when it comes down to people's lives, when it comes down to life and death, and should we be able to put out stuff that says, well, you shouldn't, it's your right not to have the vaccine, and you don't need to get. It shouldn't be, honestly. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes we're too dumb for our own good, and we need to be told what to do. And here's one of those times, and I know everybody's going to hate me, and they're going to hate Lalie for saying this, but, you need to get vaccinated so we can get life going again. I mean, Come on. It's just stupidity, guys.
Yeah. I agree, Eric LeCain, because I already have argument with friends about the vaccine. But anyway, better be safe than sorry. Alright, our next question is from Emma of Mandaluyong. What is happening? Deadly flooding in Europe. Any update? Okay,
we're living it. We're living it right now. I mean, go out to Taft Avenue. You can, just like being in Europe. I mean, the weather has gone crazy. China, Europe, the U.S., they all had extreme rainstorms. Of course, in the Philippines, it's crazy rain. And it's being blamed on warmer temperatures and a warmer atmosphere. Warmer atmosphere retains the moisture in the air, and then it falls down as heavy rain. In other words, climate change. Anytime anything happens, we'll blame it on climate change, but we may be right. Now in Europe, they have all this technology, all this flood alert systems, and they have everything in place. But experts are saying, we're ready for floods, but we were not ready for this. We were not ready for a biblical Noah's Ark, situation where this much water came, 15 centimeters of rain in 24 hours. So, 196 people died in Germany and Belgium. There's a lot of people that they can't even find. And they've been saying for a long time that something like this could happen worldwide. As the temperature rises in the earth, things are going to start to become unbalanced. And for a while it was fires, and now it's the opposite. Now it's rain. And they're saying that these types of floods that happen, every 50 years are going to start happening all the time now. The rise in temperature, the slowness in the jet stream, the rains are just becoming longer and longer. The fall times are getting more extensive. And by the year 2100, they are saying that these storms could be 14 times more common. Now, how they came to this number, I did not continue to read that article to see because it was very complicated. It was in a scientific magazine. So, but, I believe the first couple sentences that I believe it's possible that, in the next, 50, 60 years that these things could just keep getting worse. And man, I just can't even imagine if this rainstorm that's going on in Manila now got any worse.
Well, you know what? You cannot argue with nature, right? Although you have all the equipment, you have all the gadgets, to detect when will it rain. Well, the rain now they can say, okay, it's gonna rain tomorrow, things like that. But the real nature, when it comes to flood and everything, it's all unpredictable. So it's happening all around the world.
The dinosaurs. Of course that, it takes millions of years for these things to kill everything on the planet. And I know a lot of people are a little crazy when they talk about climate change. They think, the flood waters are going to come in, we're all going to drown. Okay, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that, Norway is going to be underwater in 10 years. Although they're having some trouble up there right now, but I think that this is something that people need to listen to because the earth doesn't care. The earth can deal with floods. It doesn't matter to the earth. It matters to us because we can't breathe underwater. So, it's going to be what we do about it. We are going to build, better flood zones. If Manila can fix this issue of how to deal with a lot of water, as opposed to just, we're used to it, so we're just going to let it happen again. But eventually it's going to happen really bad here. One day it's going to happen really, really bad. And this continuous flooding thing is going to flood up into the, 10 foot, 12 foot, 15 foot range. And then all of a sudden everybody's going to be mad. So, that's what I could say. But I do feel bad for you. Boy, have you seen what's going on in Europe now? Entire cities, entire towns are being just completely washed away. And all these people that are missing, they say they may never find them again. They may have washed out all the, so it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. If you want to see some bad flooding, go see some of those videos on YouTube. You won't even believe what you see that they've been getting on camera in Germany. It's really something.
Yeah. Well, here in the Philippines, there's a lot of flood, and that's why I always choose to stay in a higher condo units there, the flood will. But the thing there is, if there's no flood, but there's earthquake.
Yeah, I was just about to say, there's no flood. There's an earthquake that sways your building back and forth at 4:30 in the morning, and your toilet water is flying out of the toilet. Yeah, that's a little scary. But anyway.
Alright, let's go to Manila. Australia to deport the right-wing British columnist Katie Hopkins after she break quarantine protocol. Why did she do that? I think everybody should respect every country's health protocol, don't you think?
All right, okay, let's talk about this fool for a moment. She's one of these reality show contestants whose claim to fame is she was on the Trump game show before The Apprentice. Anyway, she was in Australia to be on another one of these reality shows. I think it's Big Brother VIP, which I have never seen and probably will never see. She was one of these blah, blah, blah people who's always talking about her rights and this and that. And she's boasting on Instagram that she's deliberately disobeying the quarantine protocols in Australia by taunting the guards in the hotel without a mask. And she said on Instagram, she was planning to confront the staff in the hotel naked with no mask and no clothes. And by the way, she's 46 years old, and she is a bit wrinkly, so nobody's gonna want to see her naked. But anyway, the government was like, okay, fine. You don't want to wear a mask, and you want to be naked, and you don't want to follow the rules in our country. You're out of here, and they kick her out. No kangaroo steak for you. You are done. And they sent her home. They put her on a plane and sent her back to the UK. She was deported. And when she got off the plane, she was talking about her right to, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to do what the government's, in the UK, they've already lifted the restrictions, you idiot. So, what is she fighting for now in the United States? So a lot of people in Australia can't get back to Australia. They can't go back to their country because of the restrictions. So a lot of people are mad, like, why did they let this woman in the country in the first place? And so as far as them kicking her out, and then the fact that she got off the plane and said all those things when she was in, some people, they just want to be on TV so bad, and they have no talent, and they can't act, and they can't sing, and they can't dance. So what do? If you can't do any of those things, you become a reality TV star, and this is what this person is, and they love the attention, and I think, her getting deported back to the UK was probably great for her career.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Some people really need attention.
Yes.
I know some people, some are friends of mine, they want to be really, really famous. So they need to do something, and sometimes what they do are stupid. Sorry for that, but that's what some people do. So, sorry, Katie.
Yeah, if you want to be deported, then be 46 years old and wrinkly and show up to your hotel door naked, and you'll get deported.
Okay. Now let's go to Gio Papati. There's something different today. How should people quit smoking and why? Let me ask you, Eric, did you ever smoke in your life?
I smoked one cigarette when I was 16, and that was it. I didn't have a lot of money when I was 16, so we didn't have money to afford cigarettes anyway. So, I smoked it, and I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand why sucking smoke down into your lungs and blowing it back out was such a thrill. I guess I never got it. So, I had other things other vices back in my high school and college days. But yeah, smoking just wasn't one of them. And as far as this question goes, and that I like questions like this that are kind of off the beat, off the news track a little bit sometimes, because we get to talk about something else. But one of the things that I want to answer about this question was the second part, which is why. And why should you quit smoking? And the reason is that smoking will kill you. That's it. There's a long list of health-related issues, and many of those end in death from smoking.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to die, you will reduce your chances of dying by not smoking. Now, as far as, how to stop smoking, we've talked about smoking before. There's, find a reason to stop, such as your kids need their parent to be alive, and you're giving them secondhand smoke, and you look awful, and you smell awful. Okay, there's a reason. There's a reason to stop smoking. When you stop smoking, it's an addiction. It's an addiction to nicotine. So it affects your brain. So you need to prepare yourself to stop. That means that you might want to see a doctor and take a class or seek out medications. There's headaches and anxiety and all these kind of things that go with stopping smoking. But there's a lot of new stuff out there that can help you stop. I mean, you can replace your smoking with nicotine gum, lozenges, and patches. And there's drug therapies now that deal with the withdrawal symptoms. There's a ton on the market. Herbal stuff that's out now. Things that are, because there's going to be depression and there's going to be a lack of concentration that goes along with quitting. And, there's groups and counselors and all kinds of things you can do. Cut back on alcohol. Alcohol is a lot of the things that makes people want to smoke. Get rid of all the things in your house that have to do with smoking. Get rid of ashtrays. Clean your carpets and couches. Get the smell out of your house. Completely get this thing out of life. And to all the people out there that smoke, that are trying to quit, you're going to fail. You are going to fail the first few tries. I don't know anybody, and I have a lot of friends that smoke because I'm from North Carolina. I don't know anybody that tried to quit smoking and did it on the first try. But if you fail, go back and repeat step number one. Is why am I quitting smoking? Take into account how much money you're going to save by not smoking cigarettes anymore. And the last thing before you talk, how much better you're going to feel if you stop smoking. And I guarantee you can tell me if I'm wrong, you're going to feel better if you stop smoking.
Okay, I'll share you that's my smoking experience before. I was in my early 20s. I had to admit, because I smoked when I was, when you were kids, you will try everything, right? And then this was the time when I was in Jordan, and I have this friend of mine. She's a belly dancer. She's gorgeous. My goodness, her name is Sandra Steven. I hope she's still alive. You know what she said? Lalie, you're still young. But look at the mirror. Look at yourself.
Yeah.
You have these lines here.
Yeah.
You look ugly. You're young. I was like early 20s that time, and she said, "My goodness, you better stop smoking." And you know what? When I got home, look at the mirror, and I saw my lines, and I told myself, I am going to stop smoking. That was my sudden, decision to stop smoking.
Find a reason. Find a reason to stop. And if lines under your eyes is the reason, that's a good enough reason.
Yeah. I mean, and you're young and they tell you that you look old. I'm going to refuse that. So anyway.
Smoking does not look cool anymore. Like when I was a kid. It was cool, but now it's not cool.
Nope. Okay. Let's go to now Ren again of Santa Rosa, Laguna. Ren has always...
He's always got a question.
Interesting question. UK wants to renegotiate its deal with the EU, saying it's flawed treaty and harm them, especially NI. What is NI? Then
Northern Ireland.
Oh, Northern Ireland. Okay, that's like going back to the bank after 6 months and saying, "I don't like the loan agreement you gave me. Let's renegotiate." Is it reasonable for the UK to do this, or is this another case of British exceptionalism?
I mean, okay. Of course the UK wants to renegotiate. This whole thing was bad from the start. It should have never happened, and now everybody knows it. It was a scam from the beginning, because where's all those guys that pushed the public into all this Brexit stuff? Where are they? How come we don't hear from them anymore? Things didn't exactly turn out like everybody thought they would. Brexit is, it's going to make everybody rich. It's going to turn the country around. Well, it's not doing that. And if everybody had to listen to the World News Jam before, when Brexit first started, and the things we said it's not going to work. Anyway, they made a final deal, and they thought they would just check things coming across the border from Northern Ireland, but they're finding out that it's not that easy. I mean, we warned them about that right here on the show, that this was not going to be a simple thing when it comes to Northern Ireland. You know, you and I, Lalie, talked about this before, and now they're yelling at the EU and saying, EU, hey, we need to make this negotiation. And the EU is like, hey, you know what? You guys are the ones that thought this up, and you're going to need to be the ones to implement it. And, you know, keeping Northern Ireland in the EU single market looks easy on paper, but in real life, guess what? It's not. And the EU was nice enough to say, hey, you know what? We'll help you seek a creative solution, but we're not going to renegotiate this deal. Not at this point. You know, this big old ship has sailed and it's hit an iceberg and it is never coming back. So, you know, there's unrest in Ireland now after peace from 1998, and things getting all messed up now, and people are getting mad, and everybody feels betrayed, both on the UK side and the Irish side. So many companies are going to stop selling to Northern Ireland because the protocols just aren't working. And Boris Johnson is saying, well, all right, these new protocols are, you know, making a significant disruption and we need to be changed. And the EU is saying, you knew this was going to happen. You acted in bad faith. And after they did this, they thought they would twist the arm of the EU, and they're not. You know, the river's all money now. And you showed up with a white outfit. You know, what else can you do? I mean, they're not going to go back and redo this again. So the UK's got to figure out what they're going to do. And I don't know what they're going to do because it's a standoff now. And the UK wants control over Ireland. And the EU is not going to give it. And that's what they thought they were going to do, and it's not going to happen. So it's a standoff. And right now, the UK is holding all the low cards now. You know, the fact that they think they're going to do this, I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen. The EU has already put their foot down and said, well, we'll help you, but we're not going to renegotiate.
Okay, so for me, I'll just wait. Who knows?
I mean, I can talk about this over the next,
right,
year of shows, but, you know, anyway. What's up next?
Okay, from Acer of Quezon City. It's in the news. Sad and scary to know Afghan interpreter for U.S. Army was beheaded by the Taliban. How can America help those people who help them so when they leave, they can have a life? Because personally, we know what will happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Just for anybody who hasn't read this story, it was a big story. This man was heading from his home to pick up his sister to celebrate the Muslim holiday. But during the trip, he came along a Taliban checkpoint. And it turns out that some time ago, he worked for the U.S. Army as an interpreter, as did thousands of Afghanis. But since the U.S. military had left, the Taliban basically put a price on everybody's head that helped the United States. So he got to the checkpoint. He knew what was going to happen. He blew through the checkpoint. They shot at his car. He swerved off the road. The soldiers pulled him out of the car, and they cut off his head. And when people say, you know, there's a worse way to die, well, that does not apply here. Until you have seen someone beheaded on video with a knife, I can't think of any worse way you'd want to go. And people keep saying, well, why did he speed up and blow through the... Listen, he knew what was going to happen. We know what the Taliban is. We know what they're, what they do. And, you know, all the translators now are considered spies for the U.S. And, you know, the U.S. left and the Taliban said, you know, we're not going to harm those people who work alongside the foreign forces. But as we said here on the show months ago, you cannot trust the Taliban. They lie about everything. So, a good thing I'm in the Philippines because I think, you know, they would probably come after me next. But as soon as the U.S. left, everything they agreed upon went out the window, or the tent flap, or whatever they live in. So there's some 18,000 translators that work for the U.S. And now the U.S. is known, for, Jews in the past, countries it occupies, and they get the help of people in the local community, and then they just up and leave. And they know that these people are going to be in trouble when they leave. By the time, they finish doing this, the United States now realizes what's happening there. They tried launching this thing called Operation Allies Refugee, where they try and find places for all those translators to go. But many are worried that the translators are running out of time. The Taliban has a list of places where these people are. And, it's not that you can run and hide. Afghanistan's not that big a country. And, you can run and hide, but your wife and your children and your families, they go after everybody. Everybody you're associated with is going to get killed. So if you were working as a translator in the U.S., you basically signed your death sentence for you and your family.
Yeah, well, I don't want to hear this kind of story.
I know. One thing I just want to say really quick, that the reason that this guy, they promised him a visa, when you translate, but he got fired because he failed a polygraph test. And they say that these polygraph tests, there's no way that you can tell the truth for some of these questions. That it's always going to be a negative response. So right now there's many stories of these Afghans that all have this same issue, that are on the run now as the Taliban is trying to chase them down and kill them. And they were promised a visa. They were promised a visa by the United States, and now the United States is gone. And they just feel like the U.S. has abandoned them. And they, very much like what happened in the Gulf War. Remember in the Gulf War? And we helped the Iraqis helped us, and then the Americans took off, and they left Saddam Hussein in power. And so what did Saddam do? He killed them all. So they think, a lot of the Afghans are asking the United States to please come back and save them. So I'm hoping that the U.S. will do what's right by the Afghanis that helped them during this time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, help those people who help you. It's like, giving them back because they help you in so many ways. Anyway, let's go now to English of last week.
Can you imagine if the U.S. Embassy here gave a lie detector test to every Filipino that wanted a visa? Nobody get a visa.
We expected this already. Once Delta variant is around, stricter quarantine should be implemented. This is not healthy for our economy, but we don't have a choice but to follow.
This weekend, I had two big Rotary events I was supposed to go to, and both of them were canceled. And many people are upset because there was a lot of planning that went into this thing, especially the pandemic. It's a big event. But what if we were allowed to continue with this event? And what if it became like a super spreader? If one person comes to an event like this and there's 200 plus people and they give it to 2 people and those 2 people give it to 4 people, and then before you know it, the Delta variant has a foothold here. And it was all caused by our event. So when they canceled it, I'm saying, you know what? That's not such a bad idea, guys. I mean, it sucked, to be clear. The Delta variant, it moves much faster than a vaccine rollout. And these lockdowns are killing us. They're killing the economy, but the Delta variant's going to kill you. So, and there's no guarantee that the Sinovac vaccine is going to stop the Delta variant yet. I mean, they say the Delta variant is 100 times more contagious, and then they said it's 4 times, and then said it's 60 times, and somebody said it's 400 times more worse than the original one. What are there? 12 new cases around the Manila area. I think there was a case in Bicol. Somebody came into Bicol from Manila. So it's spreading. There's 47 cases in the Philippines that we know of. And in Cagayan de Oro, 4 of the 5 cases were traced back to a single birthday party. So, here's the thing. We're so... just a side note here, we're so focused on the Delta variant now. We forget that there are 3,500 cases of other variants going on in the Philippines right now. Remember those, those guys, those other variants, the Alpha variant, the Beta variant from Brazil and from here, there's other things going on in the Philippines now. But I just want to say the Delta variant now is in all 3 parts of the Philippines, and they're really not sure how many cases there are. So the question that the person asked was, should there be stricter quarantines? The problem is if they don't do that, I mean, could this thing get a foothold in the Philippines? And, you know, if it outruns the vaccine, then what? What's going to happen? Are we going to go back to what we were before last year? And I just don't want to see that happen to the Philippines because we need the malls to stay open. We need the economy to at least keep rolling as it is. So, yes, maybe. That's the best I can do.
Yeah, and the only thing that, I salute your Rotary Club for postponing or canceling the party that you have. Because you know what, that's a really, really super spreader. And for those people out there who are having parties, I know there are some friends that I know, making plans to have a party next week. Please, you know what? This is not a good time for any parties at all. If you are only maybe 3 or 4 people maybe, but you have more than 10 people, because I know, and you know the person organizing all these parties here, and I just feel bad because, we know that there's something going on. I mean, there's variant, and although you are vaccinated, you are not 100% that you are protected. So, economy is, gonna take slow again, but there are things that we can do together. So, like I said in a couple of shows that we had, if you're tired of wearing masks, stay home, me too. I mean, let's just do things all together for the good of not only for ourselves, our family, even for other people and for our country.
We're all tired of this, but still, this is the way life is now. And if we're going to help each other out, we're going to have to all work together to get through this thing. And we've said this multiple times on the show, and Lalie has said this multiple times. And right now is one of those turning points. It's a turning point right now. We can turn really bad, or we can turn better. So it's all in how we're going to do it.
Yeah. All right. Now, let's go to Janet of BTC. Philippine president will be indicted after his term. So why do you think still many politicians still want to run? What's your thought?
I mean, okay, all right. So, I mean, when Duterte was running for president, I don't think he had any idea how things were going to turn out. I mean, I think he thought that maybe some Filipinos might not like him, but I'm not sure he ever thought that the world was going to see to him as a murderous thug who needs to be locked away, and he's been grouped in with guys like Hitler and Mugabe from or Stalin. I think most presidents come into office thinking they're going to be loved by the people, they're going to be successful, and that the country is going to support them. And many do, but most presidents in the world have not gone through or have done what Duterte did. Most of them finish their term and they move on to life. But Duterte is something different because, he, and I have a feeling I know where this question is coming from, he left the ICC, and that doesn't mean that he can't be prosecuted by them for crimes against humanity, which as of last week, it looks like they are going to go after him. The ICC has determined that there were 12 to 30,000 illegal killings due to the president in the Philippines. And they are even looking into how many people he might have killed or tortured as mayor between 2011 and 2016. And of course, here in the country, many say that the outside world, they just don't know what's going on here, and the media's blown this all out of proportion. But remember now, this is not the media that's doing this. This is the International Criminal Court. They don't do this kind of thing just off the cuff. I mean, they would not even attempt to do this if they didn't have a mountain of evidence built up against him. And the Duterte administration says that we are not going to cooperate in any way with the ICC, and we will not let them have access to records involving, the many homicides that Duterte is believed to be involved in. But, the ICC knows this. They know that their chances of getting a conviction are rare because of the long-standing culture here in the Philippines of murder with impunity. But anyway, they're taking the step anyway. they're going to try, I think, and they announced last week, they're going to prosecute Duterte, and they say at least it's something for the families who, members of young children who were murdered, and all these things, that they believe that they are assuming came from the administration due to video witnesses. And they know that this is going to be very, very difficult to do, but they think that this announcement that happened last week is a big blow to the fact that Duterte thinks he's gotten away scot-free. And there's also the ICC said that, the next president that comes in, unless it's, Duterte's daughter, may rejoin the ICC and then allow the investigators to come in and try and preserve all the evidence. So I don't know if that answers the question, but, that is, you say, why would somebody want to become president? Well, I don't think they think this way in the beginning. Nobody thinks they're going to be prosecuted by the ICC and that the New York Times is going to, make an expose that wins a Pulitzer Prize based on the murders happening in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you explained a lot already, but then, for a very short message here that I want to say is this, remember how many past president that we had that has been, not really convicted. Oh well, some of them got convicted. Some of them stayed in hospital. You know who they are, right?
Yes.
But still, people think, okay. And now with all the lineup that I've been hearing, I don't know who are officially running for president yet. And I know they have this thing in their heart and mind that they want to have the country, the people, blah blah blah. But the thing is, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. The moment if you are in politics, remember, everything is possible. Though how good you do, whatever project you have done for your country, if they see, let's say out of 10, and you made 2-3 mistakes, they're going to look at the 3 mistakes. And then, the opposition or whoever, they will find a place for you in jail. And it's already happening. So, I don't know why those people still want Trump to be president of this country.
Hitler did a lot of great things. He built the Autobahn. He completely turned the economy around. He put in all these things, whatever, it's infrastructure stuff in Germany. Marcos did a lot of, stuff in the Philippines. He did all kinds of infrastructure projects and so forth. Do you remember, does anybody know that Hitler built the Autobahn? Does anybody remember what Marcos did? The world does not think that way. We look at what the bad things that they did. That's what he's going to, Duterte, he's got to look at his legacy. And the world, okay, I don't know how much it matters about what the world thinks, because the world has already pinned him as a murderous thug, blah, blah, blah. But what are the people in the Philippines going to remember him as? And right now, his popularity rating is not bad. It's pretty good, actually. Why? And if you look back at the Philippines, literally just about every president in the Philippines that I can think of has had some kind of, court case of something thrown at him. A lot of those cases, except for Marcos, were thrown at him from in the Philippines political realm. This is not coming from the Philippines. This is coming from outside the Philippines. So, just like Marcos, Marcos, I don't believe Marcos was ever convicted in the Philippines, but outside the Philippines, he was convicted out of every charge that was against him. And what happens when the outside world comes after Duterte? And that is the question. I think that's what, do I think that the Philippines is going to, bring charges against Duterte? His popularity is great here. So, people love him here, but that's not what the outside world looks at.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, for this question that, why do you think they still want to run for president? I don't know. That's my answer.
Well, all I can say is, I know why we want to come back again next week, because we're out of time. But yeah, I can't answer the question about being president. I know Lalie Tolentino, I told you before, I would vote for Lalie Tolentino if she ran for president. However, Lalie, I don't think you should because, man, look what happens to you after your presidency. And I know you'd be a great president. But we'll discuss that and more subjects next week when we come back here on the World News Jam here on DZRJ and RJTV. So please join us again next week. And my goodness, I've never met this more than I do right now. Everybody, please be safe out there. And we'll see you again next week.